Hello everyone, this is Pooka, and welcome to one of the weirdest games you will ever see. So as you can see, this was from Bad Deck Monday. It's actually on a Tuesday, since I couldn't stream on Monday. We just postponed it to Tuesday, and I didn't have another graphic for Tuesday. So I just put the Bad Deck Monday one up there. But anyway, the new tradition for Bad Deck Monday is to build a deck on stream with the audience. I give them three options. The three options this week were Plasma Scrafty, Mamoswine with the continuous headbutt attack, and Weezing. And everybody chose Weezing. So this is the deck we got. So we're going to focus on Gardevoir with the, I believe it's Psychic Mirage ability. Turns all your psychic energy into 2. And then we're going to use Weezing to attack with Smog Bank. But you're really not trying to win on prize. You just kind of need to nudge your opponent into knocking out Weezing so that you can activate the Aftermath ability, which, when Weezing is knocked out, your opponent is forced to discard the top 3 cards of his deck. And then you want to clean up with Swoobat with the Jet Woofer attack. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck for each psychic energy attached to Swoobat. Okay. So now that we have the strategy all out there for you, you can see this is not going to be a very good deck at all. But who knows? Maybe we can find a way to make it work. I do start with 2 Ralts, and I see my opponent has Durants and Klink. So clearly this is a Durant Klinklang deck. And I don't know how that's going to go for me. Because, well, Devourer does a lot better of a job of discarding my cards than Aftermath does, because, you know, they don't have to knock me out if they're just using Devour. But, I don't know. We'll find out. I do get a coughing, but my hand is really bad, so I just attach to the coughing and pass. And next turn I'll have a Weezing. I won't be able to attack with it since it does take 2 energy, and Ralts does have a retreat cost. But yeah, at least I'll have that Weezing. I don't know. We'll see. So my opponent plays a Skyla. I didn't actually get to see what he took. Oh well. Guess I'll find out. There's a Rare Candy and a Klinklang. Alright, so far we've seen 2 Durants and a Klinklang, and my opponent passes. So I'm going to get Weezing into play. I also get EXP share. This deck runs only a 1/1 Swoobat line, and then 1 EXP share. See, the theory was, you want to get your Woobat down with your EXP share, and then keep using Smog Bank with Weezing. But then every time Weezing goes down, you just slowly trickle energy onto that Woobat. And then at the end of the game, you come in with Swoobat and go with Jet Woofer, and discard your opponent's deck. Now, I know this is not sound strategy, but maybe once in 100 games it is funny enough to work. And I am waiting for that day. So sometimes these little tricks in these decks can start working. But I assume that I'm just not going to get knocked out at all this game because he's playing Durant. So I decided to just attach the EXP share early on. I later find that this would be a giant mistake, but we'll see. And now I played an N because my opponent had a supporter anyway, and I wanted to get the jump on my opponent with Smog Bank, you know, start spreading damage to Durants. If my opponent does have 4 Durants in play, I can Smog Bank and knock out 3 of them on the bench. And now that the Klinklang's in play, I can actually catch her up Klinklang, Smog Bank, hit the bench, and knock out 4 Durants at once, since Smog Bank does 20 to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Unfortunately, all metal Pokemon out there, they resist Psychic, so Smog Bank does 0 to the active, so I'll never actually be able to knock out a single Klinklang in this game. I can't. I honestly am unable to knock out a Klinklang with this deck, and I realized that pretty quickly. So in order to draw an extra card here, I go ahead and use Bianca. I tool scrappered away my EXP share to draw an extra card with Bianca. That was the point there. Anyway, I just kind of assumed that EXP share would be worthless, and I totally ignored the fact that my opponent actually started powering up his Klinklang. And is he actually going to attack me? Like, the whole point of his deck is to use Devour and deck me out. But if he actually attacks me, that could honestly throw me off. And I might actually end up losing, because look at my hand. It's pretty bad. I can get a Gardevoir out, sure, but where does that get me? Nowhere. That is the answer to that question. It gets me nowhere. And so, all of a sudden, this has gotten pretty ugly. I must say, this went downhill pretty quickly. And now I'm left wondering, what am I supposed to do here? I mean, I don't have any options to work with. I don't have any energy to power up anything. So I'm going to do the only thing I can do. I'm going to Ultra Ball and get rid of Ralts and the Rare Candy. And I'm going to grab another Coughing. We're going to stick with the strategy of the deck. We're going to grab Coughing, and we're going to try to deck him out. This is the worst strategy ever, trying to deck someone out when the only way you can discard their cards is to have them knock you out. And it's only 3 cards. I don't know, guys. I am just trying to put something together here. I thought Weezing would be a little better than it was. Clearly, it has turned out to be a flop. But we're still in this game, alright? And there we go, Aftermath. Discarded 3 cards. Good stuff. So I'm going to evolve to Weezing again and pass. And we are getting run over by a Klinklang using Heavy Bullet. That is what's happening here. Alright, so I have another Coughing and a Weezing in my hand. I don't want to put down the Coughing just yet in case my opponent flips heads for the Heavy Bullet. Then he could do 20 to the Coughing, and then next turn when he knocks out, he could get heads again, and then it would be just 1 hit to knock out the next Weezing. So I need to stagger them a little bit. Don't bench it too soon. I am going to catch her up the other Klinklang, bench the new Coughing with a Psychic, and pass. But again, things are getting pretty darn ugly pretty quickly. The only thing I have going for me is that my opponent's deck is really not equipped to take prizes, so this is going to be a very slow, painful, drawn-out kind of a game. And there we see we have 23 cards left to get through. God help me. And the only way I can deck him out is if he knocks out Weezings. So I kind of need to hope my opponent voluntarily draws more cards. I don't know how else to put that. I'm going to tap the Skyla here, which is huge. And go for a Juniper, probably, since I'm going to play the Super Rod next turn, because why not? As we can see there is a Coughing and a Weezing left in my deck, so none of those pieces are prized. That's a good thing. And I'm going to pass. So this is, I'm going to be honest, this is ugly. This is not pretty. It's not a very exciting game. But hold on, it picks up, don't worry. And my opponent gets a 3rd energy on the Plasma Klinklang. And at this point, I mean, what in the world can I do? Like, I have clearly just been destroyed this game, and this deck is an embarrassment. I have a Ralt and a Curly, and I'm doing 0 damage with this Weezing. But hey, at least we're discarding the top 3 cards of his deck, right? Take that. I can't even pronounce your username, but take that, tochaBeynes. Yeah. Alright. So I draw another Coughing, get a Super Rod. I'm going to shuffle in the Coughing, the Weezing, and then probably a Psychic. Because I only play 1 Super Rod. Probably should play multiples when, you know, the whole basis of the deck is to get your Weezing knocked out. But, whatever. I'm going to Ultra Ball here, discard a Psychic and a Bianca. Going to get my Guardian into play. Now our Psychic energy will start counting as 2. Now I'll only have to attach 1 to the Weezing. And you know what? I might have to actually attack with Gardevoir. So I attach to Guardy, and I regret, you know, tool scrapping away my own EXP share earlier on in the game. I definitely do. But, oh well, hindsight is 20/20, huh? You don't really expect to face an army of Plasma Klinklangs. But you know what? We have set up those 3 Durants to be knocked out by Smogbank next turn. And I am looking forward to it, because I'm going to get 3 prizes with Weezing, and that alone is a moral victory for me. Getting a triple knockout with Smogbank doesn't get much better than that. And my opponent is at 18 cards. I keep checking to see, is it possible? Can we deck my opponent out? Can I force my opponent to deck out with just Weezing? And I don't know. So I have that rare candy in my hand, which is going to make me hold on to the Juniper. I also have a switch. I'm going to Smogbank 20 across, 0 to the active, of course, and knock out 3 Durants. There we go, baby. And I do get another rare candy and a Gardevoir. So things are looking up. My opponent actually, I don't know. My opponent hasn't played any Pokemon catchers, which is very strange. Normally you play catcher in, everything. Maybe you wouldn't play it in that deck because it's kind of a straightforward kind of thing. Either your opponent plays, EXs and gets dominated, or they don't and you lose anyway. So maybe that's my opponent's reasoning for not having catcher. I don't know. Maybe there is catcher. I just haven't seen it yet. But you would think that they would go around the Weezing and not, discard 3 cards every time you take a prize. Well, we'll see. I don't know. 21 cards now after that end. Opponent has shuffled cards back into the deck, giving me a little bit worse of a hand. I do have that Battle City, though. That is a tricky card in this deck, and as we discard the top 3 again. Now, the trick is, sure, Battle City can allow your opponent to draw an extra card, but that's the point. If your opponent draws an extra card, you're in business. And that means you have one last card to deck them out with. So it's kind of a trap. You want them to draw an extra card with Battle City. Alright, so we're going to Mind Shock for 60, and here I just realized how horrible Gardevoir's attack really is. 4 energy, 60 damage. At least let it do 70 so I can knock out a Klinklang in 2 hits, please. Or 70 so I can knock out a Sableye or something like that. That is just a terrible attack on a stage 2 with 110 hit points. My goodness. I mean, at least Blastoise has Hydro Pump to work with. I don't know. So I can't even knock out a Klinklang in 2 hits with this Gardevoir. It is just a painful, painful mess at this point. I have absolutely no strategy on how to win this game. And what can I do? I cannot use that Mewtwo because the Plasma Steel ability prevents damage done by EXs. I'm gonna Skyla here. And alright, we got Swoobat. That's gonna have to be my way out. I was looking to see if it had an attack that could actually do damage to Klinklang, and the answer is no, it doesn't. So, yeah, I just do not know what to do here. I'm going to grab Rescue Scarf, I think, and attach it to Gardevoir. Because at this point, I just assume the only way I'm going to win is to chain attacking with Gardevoir. Just keep using Mind Shocks until I win. But I actually might just end up not being able to do anything. And I should just use Mind Shock this turn. 60, but that doesn't actually get me anywhere. But, oh. Oops. Misclick. I accidentally clicked end turn on accident. So, that whole attacking strategy is now also out the window. So, now, what do you do? If you just look at my field, it is pretty embarrassing. It is a Ralts, 2 Coughings, and a Woobat. And that's it. I do get the Gardevoir back in my hand. I'm going to send up Coughing. Not sure why I'm sending up that Coughing, but I am. And here we're going to Rare Candy into the Gardevoir. And I really don't know where to go from here. Going to Battle City. I definitely need to get a Weezing into play this turn. That is for sure. I have 14 cards left in my deck. I just actually don't know. What if you were playing this game? How would you end up winning? What would be your plan of action? I am curious. For those of you watching, I am going to Ultra Ball for a Weezing. That is my plan. and try to stay alive as long as possible, as sad as that sounds. And, you know, we're going to go for the Swoobat win. So I am going to attach to Swoobat again. My opponent has 16 cards, and I'm just going to pass. And somehow we need to discard 16 cards before my opponent can take 2 prizes. That is the state of the game right now. So my opponent gets another Klang into play. It's a pretty heavy Klinklang line in that deck. And I never figured Heavy Bullet to be a big attack, but it has been. So we get a Weezing into play. We're avoiding the knockout on the bench coughing. That's good. And we have 12 cards left. I am afraid of decking out myself at this point. It's ironic. This happens a lot when I played this deck. I actually end up decking myself out more than my opponent. But, I don't know. So there's the Swoobat. And at this point, I am convinced that my opponent does not play Pokemon Catcher. So I'm thinking, alright, we got a little bit of an opportunity here for Swoobat. Can we seal the deal? And you see I got that Hue in my hand. That is for later in the game when my opponent, you know, tries to like end himself to 1. And then I go, nope, Hue. And you have to draw up to 5. Still discard cards from your deck, but here we go. Swoobat is coming in, swooping in. And this is where Hue is going to be somewhat useful. I'm going to Hue, discard cards, force my opponent to discard down to 5 cards. Now that means if my opponent plays an N, let's see, my opponent's going to have to discard 3 cards. That's what it looks like. So that means when my opponent plays an N, that's less cards to shuffle back into the deck. Which means Swoobat can actually still deck my opponent out even after an N. So this is it. We're going to send up Swoobat. And last turn, that flip for Heavy Bullet was a big deal, because Swoobat only has 80 hit points. If my opponent had hit heads on that Heavy Bullet and done 20 to Swoobat, I would have just lost the game. There's no way I could have stalled it out long enough to discard enough cards. But there we go, Jet Woofer. And when I was playing this game, I actually thought you had to discard all your Psychic when you use Jet Woofer, but you don't. It's not like that old Magmortar from the previous format. You get to keep your Psychic energy. So all of a sudden, I thought this game was just over. But we can still win if my opponent doesn't get a knockout this turn. That means, if my opponent doesn't have a Pokemon Catcher, Plus Power, or Hypnotoxic Laser, we win. We deck my opponent out with Gardevoir, Weezing, Swoobat. I don't know how we got to this point. I don't know what happened. But I have a Swoobat with 4 Psychic Energy on it, which counts as 8 because of Gardevoir. And I am threatening to deck out my opponent. Well, all I can say is this is Bad Deck Monday in a nutshell. Lots of stupid things happening with no explanation. Sometimes it works. My opponent says GG. I don't know if that means, like, I concede, good game, or I win, good game. I actually hate when people do this, because they're still taking the turn. Like, if you say GG, like, that means end the game. Don't take a 5-minute turn after you say good game, because that's kind of rude, to be completely honest. But my opponent puts down some Durants, and I actually kind of freak out, because like, oh god. Oh, I only had 4 cards left. Thank goodness there were only 3 bench spots available, because I was totally not thinking about Durant at all. Especially because I haven't seen one since I knocked out 3 of them. But here's a communication, another Klang, and we're going to see another Durant, I think, or maybe just nothing. But, yeah, if I had gotten heads on Battle City, which I thought was an irrelevant flip, and we're also weak to Lightning, so don't have to worry about Mew knocking me out. But yeah, if I thought, or if I flipped heads on Battle City and my opponent put down 3 Durants and devoured, I would actually lose. Because I would only have 3 cards left in my deck if I drew an extra one. So 1 extra card from Battle City could have been the difference here. I could have just lost myself the game on what seemed like a meaningless flip. But here, my opponent is going for a last-ditch effort, and this is why saying GG like that upsets me. Still attacks, doesn't concede, actually confuses me. Anyway, we're going to switch into Gardevoir, retreat, and jet. Woo! For the win. This one is for Drew Holton. Happy birthday, Drew. Swoobat gets the victory. And all I can say is wow. And woo! Alright, well that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. This is hands down one of the weirdest games I have played in a very, very long time. But I hope you enjoyed. I had fun playing it. I had fun reliving this. Hopefully we'll have some more videos soon. I am Pooka here from the Top Cut, and I'll see you guys next time.